Okay, so Ryan Dutton, thank you for coming on.
Yes, good to be here.
Yeah, so you played for the Packers.
Yeah, it was one of the Green Bay was 06 and 07.
Okay.
I was with the Seahawks the year before that. I got to play in NFL Europe. NFL Europe's no longer, they shut it down to expand and play their global games.
Sure.
But that was cool. We won the Super Bowl of NFL Europe. I was in Amsterdam.
No shit.
Yeah, so that was actually the coolest experience of my professional sports, because one, the team all lived together. Of course you're playing in a different country, and it was just a really cool experience. All the guys that played there had to come from NFL teams, so a whole bunch of players from different NFL teams come together. They draft, and probably because of the closeness, because when I was in Cleveland the year before that in 04. For the most part, the players all have their own apartments, houses, whatever. And in the off season, when the season's over, most guys, especially in Green Bay, it's a great football town, but most of those guys aren't living in Green Bay, Wisconsin during the off season. So I was very blessed to have that opportunity. And then never would have met my wife if it wasn't for that. Never would have ended up working. We worked in the school districts in California for a number of years. So when I had to make that decision that I was going to have to have a real job, there was an opening at the school my wife worked at. So long story short, did that and got to be principal at that school for about 5 years.
Okay.
At a high school level as well, and we kind of saw the writing on the wall a little bit before COVID. Our older girls were getting into middle school, into sports, and just wanting we loved that area. My wife grew up in that area, but smaller towns, smaller schools, and it's been a great fit here. We had friends that moved up here and came and visited, and like a lot of people fell in love. And and you hear a lot from the it's a different. It's the scale of they don't want it to be this metropolis, but they want like-minded people up here. And not everybody's like-minded, of course, but that's what really drew us to North Idaho, and we wouldn't make any other choice.
Let's get into real life.
Yeah.
Okay. So what drew you to real life? When did you guys start going there? And then how did the transition go to working at Genesis?
The friends that we knew that had moved up here before us and invited us to come up and check it out, they were members at Real Life. And, it was just we were looking to get plugged in, and weren't super excited about that, big church type of feel, but got to meet a lot of people, enjoyed that. And then I wasn't sure what I was going to do work-wise, and there was somebody that was a member there that we had gotten to know, and they had known there was a job opening with Genesis, in administration. It was the guidance counselor, admissions counselor, so all the schedule planning, college planning. And so I just reached out to the principal and said, hey, we're new to the area. Do you got some time to just chat with somebody? And so he was open to that. And then one thing led to another, and that's the job I took. And we were also looking at where we're going to homeschool our girls.
Yeah.
We live north, so we're in the Lakeland schools, which now our girls are in the Lakeland schools, and we like those schools, a lot, but it was looking for that, I guess, Christian education, and it seemed to just perfectly fit. It all happened fast because they had a position before school and they were looking to hire somebody fast. So it happened fast, and we got the girls in, and we did 2 years there. They went to school 2 years, and I worked almost 2 full school years. I was actually was let go or asked to leave about the last month of the second school year.
Because of the tithing?
No, not specifically the tithing. It was just, I was told go in different directions, and you can say what you want. It's kind of what they're allowed to say or what they would want to tell you. I didn't understand why it ended early. It could have been hey, school year's over, we're going to go a different direction. But it was, if I remember right, it was, May-ish, early May. So right before school year was out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they let you go?
Yeah.
Yeah, because in Idaho, it's a right to work, so they don't have
Correct.
to give you a reason to fire you.
Correct.
Which it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me about working at Genesis, and then what you also told me about the tithing with the employees.
Yeah, so it, like in a contract or when we accepted it, when I accepted the position, it wasn't like, hey, this is what you have to do. But my brain always working on the side of like being a principal and wanting to. I was part of the administration, wanting to help that school to grow, and I saw a lot of the things that the good things or the things that could have been right. They did grow really fast, so I thought I could help with that administrative side because it's like they were getting so big, but trying to kind of catch up with that wave to be run as a school. And I know they're a Christian organization backed by the church, but they're also a school, right? So they needed that experience. But throughout staff meetings and discussions with other teachers that I became friends with, they had some of the similar experiences as far as not necessarily maybe the tithing and the amounts in the beginning, but it was like there was kind of like a pressure as far as like if you're not going to church at Real Life, why, or trying to attract you to Real Life. And there was a few staff members that were very adamant that their churches, they liked their churches, they were part of those churches. And the year following my release, they left as well, and I think there was some more pressure on that. My thoughts are when the church stepped in, like as far as elders on the board and running the school, that there might have been some more pressure to do that as far as being a member of the church. And in fact, I know in interviews that folks were asked like about Real Life, the church. Do you attend Real Life? What church do you attend? If not, and then I had gotten word that there was, again, it was like at a staff meeting, and they're talking about tithing and the 10%, and so the hamster wheels are turning, right? Yeah. So you provide our paychecks, you know how much we make, and they have a record of the tithing that we give or we don't give to this church. So it wasn't just myself, but we started to kind of sense that there was some pressure outside of the school. Where else would it be from the church as far as the teachers, what churches they attending, if they're not going to Real Life, why not? And then that tithing amount that they're adamant about. What's
the average teacher make there a year, roughly?
I know the Idaho, just in general, your public schools isn't, if you ask me, up to par at all. It was, right. If I just worked at Genesis, and let's say my wife didn't have a job, and with the 3 kids at home, like it's not enough to provide. It was. I think my contract was right about 50, and I was admin. So the teachers are making probably in the 30s, high 30s maybe.
So they're supposed to give 10% to the church.
Yeah. And the churches, they are very adamant about that. And I remember even speaking in the staff meeting where it was talked about, it wasn't myself, but another teacher brought up like their thoughts of tithing being like time, effort, or doing like a music camp or sports camps, right? There are different ways of tithing.
Yeah.
And it always came back to that money aspect to the church. So that kind of became a turnoff to me, a sour taste as well. In a lot of our discussions when we had, whether it was lunches together or, meals with our families, the staff members that we were getting to know, like that came up a lot, and I could sense that it was on their minds as well, on their hearts. Yeah,
that's not right. No, it has nothing to do with God.
No,
especially when people are making $30,000 a year, like they need that money.
Yeah.
Jim Putman does not need that money. So,
and then, I didn't see the financials
I'm sure
had wanted
nobody
to,
does.
had wanted to, at least the school-wise,
Yeah.
to just be able to like analyze it, because that was my job. That's what I did for my high school and my district when I worked there, to like, hey, where can we go with this? And but I think when I left, the school had grown to, man, I believe we were at around 600 kids.
Yeah.
And so when you look at what those parents are all paying, I mean, we received a discount because we were staff members. If I remember correctly, I think we paid about $1,500 a kid, and that was with the staff discount. Mm-hmm. So you were probably at close to $3,000 maybe for a regular price.
Yeah.
Per kid, and then there's scholarships probably and things like that. But when you multiply that out times 600, I was just curious because we were thinking about with the school and what other things we could do, like how much do we pay the church to run this school?
Yeah.
I mean, I never knew that or found that out or was told that, because we rented the school until about we were over at 2:30 or something like that, and like at 3:00, man, the next group's in there, whether it was recovery groups or other things that they had. It was like we had a classroom, but you had to keep it a certain way because they had people coming in, doing their programs that they were doing as well. So it's and I don't know if those other programs are paying the church money, probably some of them, to rent the space. Yeah.
I'm sure they are. Will you tell me about, you guys raised a bunch of money for the school? I'm a little confused on that, and then they never gave it back.
Yeah, so the big fundraising, well, I was there, and even, we were kind of told that, like, because we were trying to fundraise for other things too. Hey, can we fundraise, like, one of my, I was an administrator, but I also had to teach some classes at the same time. So one of my classes that we came up with was like a science horticulture type thing. And in my side, it was like, hey, what about greenhouse? We got all the space here. So it was like, hey, let's put that off until maybe we get the new school built. We're fundraising. We're not going to fundraise we're focusing on this. So, they put together, they in fact hired a gal that her full-time job was like a marketing for this new school. So we did a couple of the big dinner fundraiser donation raffle prizes type thing, and in my 2 years there, I believe they put together, it was right around $800,000 towards this new school.
Yeah.
So that money was in a fund to help build this new school. We had a few meetings with the board. They shared the layout of the school, what the original or the early drawings were of what the school's going to look like. They kind of had some estimates of the cost. So it was going to be built in phases. So like phase 1 to get these classrooms done. So the kids, or I think the high school kids, we were going to move over, and they were going to still have to keep some kids in the church. And then when they built the second phase of that school, I had that too. So now if you're not going to build the school, they purchased that lot. At least, that's what I was told. They got the money and they purchased this lot. So there's that real estate right there too. Is that going to be sold to someone else? Does the church take that over? Yeah. I don't know. That was that parcel there in front of real life across from the courts. There was a chunk there that was designated for the school. And then in my discussions or just friendships that I kept up with even after, I left the school, there was either emails or letters sent out, that they weren't going to go forward with the school, that this money was now in God's hands or God's money, and they were going to, use it as they saw fit.
I wonder how much of that went into Jim Putman's pocket.
If he's running the church and the church had the money, it's technically kind of his money, right? But I didn't see that, especially for folks that maybe on their hearts, if it was like, all right, the school's not going to be built, then that's what I put my money to for that school, not just necessarily for the church or for God to do whatever he saw fit. I saw their right to have their money returned to them.
Absolutely.
I mean, especially when you're talking tens and tens of thousands of dollars. I know they had some big donors, and just a lot of the parents that were in the school that have local businesses that had some money that they could donate. I don't think they appreciated that as well either.
I want to dig on this for a second. So when people said, like, give us our money back, what was Jim Putman's response?
Essentially, like I said, it was an email, letter, or one of the two that that this money is now God's money. That's what it all kind of came down to. When I was shared that email by a fellow staff member, former staff member. It just struck me really odd, because if I'm building something and raising money for something, whether it's involved with the church or not, and then all of a sudden we're going to change our mind and all these people gave that money, it's like, well, why wouldn't you give them? I mean, maybe you could ask them, hey, would you like us to keep your money? But in my mind, you give that money back.
Absolutely.
Especially when you're talking close to $1 million.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of money.
And they might have raised more since, I was let go, until the point where they decided this isn't going to happen.
Unbelievable, dude.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand that part. Like, we talked about like the ethical, unethical stuff. It's like, okay, this money was donated. Can you technically keep that? Yeah, I guess, right?
Is it right? No. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Especially coming from a man of God. Yeah. I think Jim Putman's God is money.
I mean, I didn't have a close relationship with him. Knew him, of course. He didn't really attend like staff meetings or anything like that. I know, there was things that I'm sure were brought to him, whether it was questions or things the school wanted to do or asking him about whatever. But like, that would be one question I would like to hear the answer is why besides that it's just God's money, because of the specifics of that fundraising. I know it was also a reason why a lot of parents took their kids out of that school, because either that's what they heard, they found out, or they actually gave money, and that decision led them to take their kids elsewhere. There has been a big turnover, which a school gets taken over, new administration, new board members. Like, okay, yeah, just like a football team, you hire a new coach, you're gonna get new players, new coaches, whatever. But the specifics of that school would be like, this is their direction. And it seemed like when the church came in, it was like maybe those years leading up to that wasn't their direction, because when the church came and took over it, 180, especially with the new school, because there's not room in that church for that number of kids if they're planning for that school to grow. And I don't know where they're at enrollment now. My guess is they've lost a lot.
Yeah, with all this information coming out, I'll be interested to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, and some of those things should be easy to find out. Are you planning on building a school? What there's school board meetings. Of course, any of us could attend those. But like, what are your enrollment numbers? What's your vision? What's your plan? I mean,
yeah. In your opinion, does Jim Putman play God?
I feel that yes. There was a few times where I had felt strongly about things for the school, directions, places to go. Went to folks like, hey, can we sit down with the church or elders, whoever it is, whether it's Jim or folks that, like I said, the elders on that church. Let's, we got some ideas, especially if we're not going to build this new school and we're going to continue to stay here. Basically, I was just kind of told like, that's not a good idea. So why not? That's just not a good idea.
That's it.
I guess. I mean, maybe knowing what his vision was or what he had told them, and what I was saying or what I was bringing up, like, wasn't definitely going to be either approved or, I mean, at that point, it's like, hey, can we just sit down? Why can't we have a meeting with these folks to talk vision, to talk future?
Yeah, that's what good leaders do. I mean, good leaders have to have a vision so everybody knows what they're working towards.
Yeah, and in knowing that, like, our vision, it did have the church over us, because we rented the space from them, but at that time, it was like, I thought the church was supporting a new school being built, because one, that turns the church back over to the church. The new school would be right in front of the church, right? So you can connect this beautiful new school with your church, great things. To me, it just didn't make sense why there wasn't the support in going that route. I don't know.
Did you listen to the stuff about the Solomon Foundation?
Yeah, especially when, like, seeing the connections and the kind of red flags to me that raises. Yeah.
Well, definitely conflict of interest. I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And Jim needs to show everybody. Like,
yeah, and I had never known or heard that, I had known about their talks and their meetings and their, whatever you want to call them, conferences with investments and folks and like, even myself, like, yeah, would I like to invest my money in some things? Like, of course. And I do. But now seeing what was brought up about the Solomon Foundation and how that works, and even the fact that you're saying that there's no real, like, backing, it's just handled.
The SEC called it a Ponzi scheme. Not me. The SEC, which is, I mean, that's scary. I mean, that's really scary. I also want to know, what is Jim getting from the foundation to make the congregation invest in this? Like, he has to be benefiting from it. How much?
Yeah, I noticed there's on their website there was a handful. One of the pages or at the bottom, wherever it was, but like the partners. So in real life, their logo and stuff being a partner. So like in my mind, when you're partners, there's like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, the connection type thing. And then knowing if those folks that meet with the church are investing, that's where it's going. It's not like the church allows Johnny from Northwestern Mutual Insurance to come over and teach some people like, hey, if you want to invest some money, here we go. It's like directly into what this church is involved in. That, again, if that doesn't at least raise a red flag with you once you find that out, I don't know what to say. At least you want answers.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what is really going on, especially because of allegations from the past with them, with the Solomon Foundation themselves.
Yeah, and I'm, learning a lot from you and others that are introducing this stuff, like especially with the Solomon recently. But again, it's just all it does is like common sense is like the question of like why and what's the explanation. I mean, couldn't a gentleman that's part of real life be on the board of Solomon? Yeah, but like, why does Solomon? Maybe? Yeah, and then learning about like that foundation and how it was created and who created it. Yeah,
it's all really fascinating stuff.
And my degree in college was finance. So I'm not a finance guru or investment guru, but just you don't even have to be to just be like like for example, when we were in California, the church that we had something similar, but the folks came in, they did the Dave Ramsey financial piece, or what it was called, program, right? And then if they wanted to give money, it wasn't like we're giving to the church in an investment setup. It's like helping them or getting them to a professional financial place in town, like Northwestern Mutual or Wells Fargo banking, or you know what I mean? That
like a bank account that's actually insured.
Sure, but completely separate. Just teaching people, helping them with their, whether it's debt or things like that, but not specifically like, hey, if you want to put money in, here's where it's going to go.
What's it look like when a member tries to pull out of the Solomon Foundation? Do you know?
No.
Yeah, I would be really interested to see who they have to go through, what they have to do to get their money back, and I'm sure that they're sitting there trying to twist their arm on not to pull their money out.
Yeah, kind of like if you're a member of the church and you don't want to be a member anymore, is it just, hey, I'm done, or we were part of one of the small groups, and our small group had met pretty consistently. We did one of the studies, and then we continued to meet because through the church, they had their times of the year where they had their small groups. So we continued to meet, and then the leader of our small group, one meeting, and was like, hey, we gotta just talk about or do other things, or what are the different things we can talk about? And it was kind of awkward. The question came up, and it was like, essentially the church told him like, you can't study other things or other books, you know what I mean? Like if it's small group study, like, hey, here's this book you're all going to read, we're going to study it, right? And we were just kind of like doing our own thing, which I didn't see anything wrong with, especially since we're just gathering at this guy's house. And I think he might have even said something to the church, which he was probably being honest, like, hey, this is what we're doing. And then it was like, no way, you're doing what we're having you do, not what you guys want to do. And that was even outside of like the small group time. So it's another red flag. Like, why do you care so much if we're on our own time sitting down with folks and betting ourselves and getting together to discuss, the godly things that we're,
Because when somebody has enough money, it's not about the money anymore. It's about controlling people. So I really feel that's kind of where Jim's at. I mean, he's been doing this for 27 years.
And it's not a secret. Money changes.
Oh yeah.
People. I mean, I'm not saying like it changed me 100%, but I can remember like when I was playing football and the money you're paid for that, it changes you and the things that are available, or like folks get stuck in like the wanting more, and then on top of the money is like the power and control, because they're the mega church in this whole area nationwide. I know he's at engagements all over the place, sharing whatever he's sharing. Yeah, so that's that fine line that I hope if I was in that position that it really wouldn't change me to the core. But it seems like the money or the real estate, whatever it is, has like taken charge of that. I mean, Dan's episode where he mentioned he was in, I think, a Starbucks, and because he was part of the real life at one point, knew who some of these folks were, and the discussion that he overheard was like, it was real estate, money-based, building-based. How are we going to, add assets, acquire things, and like it was that growing as like a business, or as like real estate entrepreneurs, not church leaders. Yeah, see, and I've been diving just because it's been literally days since the sharing of that, and then when I went to that, and my wife and I talking about it, so it's like I obviously want to learn more about that too, and would love to have some answers. And for transparency, like, shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah,
for some reason it is.
If this is about God, what do you have to hide?
Yeah,
just show everybody.
And you shouldn't, anybody else that's questioning shouldn't be immediately the bad guy, or like should worry about your safety or security because you're questioning things.
Yeah,
that's where we're at in this world. That it's not okay. It's off the charts.
Dude, it's so crazy. Like, it's so obvious the devil rules the earth. But what's exciting is I'm not just stopping with Jim. I mean, I'm going after a bunch of people. J.O.'s next, in heart of the city.
Oh, heart of the city. And
if he's got nothing, if he's doing everything right, fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah,
I'm gonna promote that and be like, go to this church. But we're about to find out. Because dude, this was so funny how this worked. An old friend of mine, we hadn't spoken in
about. And that's why you have school boards, church elders, checks and balances for all this stuff.
Yes. A friend of mine, after I called out Jim, reached out to me, and I hadn't talked to him in like a decade. And it just so happens that his wife is a private investigator. And the next day, boom, dude, they sent me all this information. And it was like, holy shit.
Or like you were saying that the SEC has already looked into that investment, which in my mind, so can they do anything about it at that level? I don't, you know what I mean?
Yes, because it's a C3, which is a nonprofit,
right.
And it has a religious exemption, so they don't file the IRS 990, which means they don't have to show anybody what is going on.
Regardless of the SEC is telling somebody that this is
I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a while ago though, and they didn't do anything. So apparently they can't do anything with the nonprofit, like how they have it set up.
They're still part of it and still doing.
Well, they have 1.2 billion in assets. I mean, they have the money, to fight.
Sure.
And who knows? I mean, dude.
It's correct me if I'm wrong, but it's all churches that they're helping with.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a few of the partners or whatever on the website. It looked like it, but if it's just based on helping the churches, and that's what they're doing at all these churches.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see like what Jim Putman gets from Solomon Foundation for having the congregation put money into it.
Yeah.
Because he's not doing it for free.
I wouldn't think so. For how big and how busy. I know that guy's busy. I mean, he's doing a lot of stuff, and he's involved in a lot of things. But yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah,
it's just like, and it's no, again, you say it's 501c3, so whatever they can, not have to show or tell. But like, why not? Why can we not know like what a pastor makes, or what he makes, or you're cutting yourself a salary, here's what you get, are you giving your pastors a living expense or a house? If that's what you're doing, great.
Yeah,
because that happens all the time. But it's like,
and it's like pastors deserve to have a good life.
Sure,
that's like, I'm not saying they don't.
Yeah.
But at what point is it taking advantage of the congregation? If you have tens of millions of dollars, you are obviously taking advantage of the congregation. Like, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And my worst, I guess, and one of the reasons why we switched churches is like, it's kind of like the, walk the walk, talk the talk type thing, right? If this is what you're teaching us to do as your members, or if it's almost like the rules for thee but not for me, that's how I see it. And I just can't, I don't understand that, because that's what all those people are coming every Sunday. It's not just about the Sundays, but for the most part it is, right? Because that's how many thousands of people are attending those inside those walls. They're listening. It's it's like I'm in a classroom, I'm being taught. So like, if that's what we're teaching these folks to do, but then we don't practice what we're preaching, then where are we at here?
If nothing happens from this, we're doomed. The church systems over here are doomed. I think all the men of real life need to come together and tell Jim to resign. immediately. Open the books, show everybody
open
what's
the
going
books.
on. If you're taking advantage of people, you need to resign immediately. And then put a young, strong leader in there who can really lead people. Are you familiar with Robbie Walden?
I've heard of the name, but I'm not really familiar.
This dude was a country music singer. He was a war vet, badass dude. He had everything, and he gave it all away to follow Christ. He owns Christ Fit Gym.
Oh, right. I know where that's at then.
That is a man worthy of leading that many people. Because I know, I'm
Get
sure,
a chance to meet him. That'd be nice.
I'm sure J.O. never gave everything away to follow Christ. And I'm sure Jim Putman never gave everything away to follow Jesus Christ. Like, Robbie Walden is strong, dude. He can lead. Like, that is who should be leading that many people. Like, that dude is an incredible man of God. And he could really, like, he is the only person that I know who could be in charge of that much money and it wouldn't matter.
That's what it's got to be.
Yeah.
And maybe somebody doesn't realize that until they get to that point. But I'm sorry, like, it can't be. Or, like, my mind goes to, and again, but like, we're asked to pay taxes.
Yeah.
We're taxed on this stuff. So when we're seeing that tax money is going to whatever, X, Y, and Z, and we have the right to speak up to say, like, hey, I don't appreciate that, right? And again, it should be this similar thing with the church, because there shouldn't be anything to hide.
If this is about God, prove it.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I mean, there's always things that probably pop into your head after.
Well, and I'm going to invite you back on for Motion. This is the church auditor.
Gotcha.
So I'll invite you back on for
You guys are
Motion.
doing great things, man.
Yeah, dude. And then when I'm
Probably should talk to my wife too, since
yeah,
she sees the real brains behind it all. But
and then I'm doing what's called the road closer, and that's when I'm going after companies. Yeah.
So the company side, road closer.
Yeah, the road closer.
Not closure, the road closer.
Like closing deals.
We'll look forward to seeing what's coming on that route too.
Yeah, I'm making some call outs today.
I guess I should have even opened this thing before we started.
But Ryan, I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
absolutely.